Hello, and welcome to a Panzer Grenadier playthrough of the King's Officers, a Panzer Grenadier Campaign book produced by Avalanche Press back in 2010-2011 range. My name is Camp Sawyer. I'm going to be walking you through one of the latest scenarios I am playing through this. I am playing the campaign, the first campaign in here, which is the early Africa campaign with the Italians versus the British Army in the North African desert. And I've played through about 4 or 5 scenarios so far, and it's continuing on with the next one. And I wanted to give a try filming it and give folks a little chance to see how it's played and how it works through. So this is my introduction to this. I just wanted to give you an introduction to the King's Officers campaign here, and give you an introduction to the scenario. I will be creating more videos of the playthrough as we go through it. So first off, the scenario itself, if I open the books here, is actually buried in here. It's the Desert War 1940-41 campaign. I've already played through a handful of these scenarios. The first one, Italy invades Egypt, Operation Compass, Bardia, and Tobruk, and Beta Farm. And I'm up to scenario El Ageila. So during these scenarios, what we're doing is actually playing the scenarios, getting results, and those results are carrying forward with each game with campaign victory points, which we accumulate, and then ultimately that will be whoever has the most campaign points is the victor of this. But the other aspect to this as well is, this is my campaign sheet, is the fact that not only do we have the scenarios down here and our campaign totals, but we also have leaders. We have character leaders that we're actually playing with here as well. And this is how I'm keeping track of the leadership points that they can accumulate as part of the battles. I've got 3 lieutenants for the English Army, British Army, and I have 3 tenentes for the Italian Army, and tracking how they go through, whether they survive first and foremost or not, and then if they do they accumulate leadership points for activities they accomplish and their effect on the battles and so forth down the line. I'll explain those in a little bit more a little bit later. But the campaign is 10 scenarios. As I said, I'm up to about the 6th scenario, and this is the one we'll be playing through, and I will be filming to show you how it's done. Now in this scenario, it actually has an Italian-German attacker. This is just when the German Africa Corps lands and starts to take over the campaign in North Africa, and then of course Rommel appearing and directing the battles from there. So in this case, we're actually going to have a mixed force of Germans and Italians trying to push through the British 7th Armored Division, trying to get past them and capture ground around them. So in this, we've got a German-Italian attacking force, a small British defending force that will be attempting to try to stop them. Now the game length is 20 turns. It's a daylight scenario starting at 1 p.m. or 1300 hours. I'll show you the map and show you the setup here in a second with this. The German force is rather mixed. There's some light armor that the Germans have landed and have attached to the Italian army for this breakthrough. We have Italian infantry that will be providing support for the German tanks, and we'll be trying to break through on there. For the British, we just have a small defensive infantry force defending that we'll see here in a moment. But there's no armor. Basically, they are in dug-in fixed positions and trying to defend. Ultimately, the victory points, campaign points for this will be units eliminated, as well as German and Italian units that get off the east edge of the map, as well as British forces that retain control of the road that travels along here, which I will show you here in a minute. So this is the scenario we'll be playing. Again, it's part of a bigger campaign, which I mentioned about using leaders to as characters to help provide a little bit of color and flavor to the scenario. One other thing I should note, this game pretty much exclusively uses the core game of Africa Corps. Hence you see the top on here that I'm using as a stand for the moment. So you must have Africa Corps to actually play this. And you can play pretty much most scenarios in the 2 campaigns with this. If you get to the 3rd campaign, which is part of the breakout in Normandy, then it will require Beyond Normandy to play that one. So, just to comment on the character leaders here, I'll just show you some of the stat sheets that I'm keeping for them. These are printable stat sheets that can be downloaded from Avalanche Press, which allows you to define your character leaders and define what special characteristics they have. I've got one for the British here, and I got several for the British and several for the Italian, only because, as you can see with the British, I've had one leader that's been killed already. Lieutenant Roberts, killed in the first scenario by an air raid. He's out. Replaced by Lieutenant Brown, who's been in the game ever since. For the Italians, the same thing. Actually, I've got 2 sets here. I've had Tenente Greco, Tenente Colombo, Tenente Bruno. They're the current lieutenants or tenentes in the game. But as you can see, several have been captured in prior scenarios or killed, throughout the other scenarios. But I'm basically having 3 per side that I'm using, and they have special characteristics to help enhance firepower, close assaults, movement, things like that within the game. So let's take a look at the setup for what I have in this particular scenario. So in this case, as I said before, we've got a German force that's actually attacking over here. They are set up just off screen here. And let me just move the camera a little bit so that you can see that. See them over here. There we go. Here's our German force over here. We've got a row of tanks coming in along the road. We've got our infantry arrayed just off the road coming in at the same time. And then down here we've got our guns. There are a small amount of guns that are coming in with this. These are the highly mobile force. Obviously we've got tanks that are moving. Every infantry has a truck, so they are being transported, as well as the guns. So again, highly mobile environment over here. To the eastern side over here, we have our British defense. Now a couple of map notes on here. One, this stretch here is a hill, just a single level hill. This is also a single level hill up here, and this whole area back here is a single level hill. Okay, all single level hills on here. So they will block line of sight and provide hindrances behind this so that they cannot see across here, and the various blind spots over here as well. The British actually have some anti-tank ditches which are impervious to vehicles. Excuse me. The infantry can actually cross them, but they've arrayed them across here in covering the road and in between the 2 hill locations, as well as up here to kind of push any type of attack that may have been coming this way, back over here. And then the big one back here along the road as they come up here, making it a little bit more difficult if the German Italian force tries to drive down here and take the road this way. Because the road, the entire length of the road, is a victory condition. If the British hold any amount of road, at the end they get points. If the Germans clear the road, they get points. So it's an important piece over here to defend. As you can see, the setup for the defense, a little bit back, not a forward defense on here. Mainly because covering the road, hill positions gives some advantage, and just my feeling, better defensive position within the map. So this will be what the British have set up over here, and we can see there's several pockets. There's this pocket here covering the main advance. Hopefully they will be mobile. As I said, these are fairly static forces. They are not a lot of trucks or vehicles. There are a couple, I'll show you back here, there are a couple of Bren carriers, which British are holding back over here, but only 2. So it's going to be a little bit tricky to get troops, in a mobile situation to get them moving. So they're going to have to rely on watching and waiting. Also using their heavy guns right here and here. There are 2 25-pounders back here. Primarily going to be used for bombardment, but they do have the anti-tank capability. So they will defend the road over here. And then on the wings, more infantry and leaders. You can see some infantry down here. Defending along the wings. Hopefully they can adjust and move accordingly once the battle starts to get moving. If you notice on some of these leaders, they do have little chips here, here, and here. Those are our character leaders, and just as a point of reference, so that we can see who's who when we're need to apply any type of adjustments, or if there's any action around them, if they get leadership points, we just know who's who. So this is the setup. This road down here, you notice there's X's through it. This does not exist, and that doesn't exist over here. The road only travels this way, and this is just a one-level hill over here as well. So that's a little bit of the setup. The Germans are going to come on this way, kind of looking for the cover of this hill so that the British can't see them, to at least get on the board, at least get up here and avoid any type of direct fire that comes that way. Although there is one of our leaders, British leaders, up here acting as a artillery spotter. So he will be able to see most of the area. I think it comes to about here that you can see. You can see most of the area that they are coming in, so it's going to be a little bit tricky for them to get on board. But I think some of the initial German and Italian motorcycles can race up here and drive him off. He has really no defensive capability up there, so once they get close, he's going to be running back for his friends behind. So that will hopefully allow the rest of the German advance to get up here. And then the attack is going to, from the German side, the attack is going to develop as it goes. The main thing here is to get on the board. As I said, victory points are losses and getting off the board and the road primarily. From the German perspective, I'm thinking the road is going to be a tough battle just because of this defense and then these defenses here. I think they're better use of their tactics is trying to aim to get off the board. And hence why I set up more towards the south, along the road, more towards the south. There's some AT ditches up here, which will drive the force right into the British over here. This is a little less protected, so I'm thinking they can at least get under here and then get, hopefully, over the hill. Tanks provide some support to attack over here, and then hopefully they can dash around the side and get off the board. It's going to be a tricky one, I think. Again, depending upon depending upon the attacks, depending upon the defense. We'll see how it goes for the Italians. From the standpoint of other setups, morale, British have decent morale, same with the German tanks, but the Italian infantry is a little weaker with morale. They're only a 7 full strength, 6 reduced strength, which can be a hindrance on there. Although we do have a few good leaders with morale bonuses that should help in key situations to keep them moving. Okay, so that's our setup, and that's kind of the general strategy for what we're going to be planning with this. So I'm hopeful that this will be a good scenario. I'm going to go through the first couple turns, getting them on the board, getting them positioned here, hopefully behind the hill, a little bit of British reaction. I will probably do snippets just to give summaries at the end of the turns on that, because they tend to be rather dull getting on the board. But once we get into more action and they start crossing the hills and getting closer to the British here, then I will look to do individual turns as videos, so that you folks can see the action and see what's going on at the same time I'm playing it through. And then hopefully we'll have a good battle and everything comes out well. So that's a little bit of the preview. Once again, this is going to be the Campaigns and Commanders, the King's Officers. That's the second volume of campaigns and character leaders. Requires the Africa Corps. And again, we'll see you on the next playthrough. Thanks. Bye.